Does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin this evening's Skynet? Please come now. This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I'll be your net control for this station of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the # break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control, that would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, W5FC.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry if you want to check in via voice. We will continue to do that over the air and Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas event, and where and when you can look through a telescope. National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries. Discussion topic of the evening, what's up? Space exploration and space history. Constellation of the week, space launches of the week. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. And astronomical Q&A and 73 round. So, let's see. Here's the spreadsheet. Here's who we have checked in already. We have KE5ICX, Tom in Corpus Christi, K5MCD, Cody in Dallas, WB5OZL, KF5JHA, Chaz and Bob the Cat, N5LIG, Dale and Little M. Oh, Chaz and Bob are on planet Earth, by the way. And N5OF, Clay and Mesquite, AA5AH, Robert in Richardson, NT5TM, Tony in Bird City, and AG5PM, Rich in Rockwall. So, do we have any on-air check-ins from the general check-ins? Please come now.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas.
This is Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar, Brian in Terrell, along with Snowy the Cat.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch. Kilo Juliet 5 Golf Papa Foxtrot Jack Lake Collins. This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton in my hot garage.
Okay, we have checked in K0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris, Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar, Brian, and Snowy. By the way, Coco's in the other room on the bed. I don't think he knows yet that we're on the net. He'll be here soon, I'm sure. Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill. Kilo Juliet 5 Golf Papa Foxtrot, Jack. Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James. Do we have any Echolink check-ins now?
N2YBS, Benjamin.
Okay, we have N2Y Bravo Sierra, Benjamin. Welcome to the net. All right, so let's go to general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for these evenings net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have something, please come now. Okay. Um, well, let's talk about tonight's Afterglow movie. Tom, KE5ICX, would you care to tell us about that?
WE507.
You announcements. I think we'll skip all the nets for now. We may go back to them later. I think we're losing some time. Um, for announcements, Bill N5BB would tell us about the National Space Society, except he is at the International Space Development Conference in Orlando. I'm sure we look forward to hearing about all about that when he returns. Um, but I don't have any news on that right now. So how about let's talk about uh, Afterglow. Tom, KE5ICX. Can you give us a synopsis of tonight's fine film?
Why, yes, Brenda, I can do exactly that. So everybody listen up. The Star Wars Holiday Special is an American television special originally broadcast by CBS on November 17th, 1978. On a tacky CBS television soundstage not so very long ago, it's Life Day, and Chewbacca, accompanied by Han Solo, were headed home to see the giant Furballs family. Mala, some weird puppet-like relative then attempted unsuccessfully to prepare a holiday meal, the instructions of which were being aired via a local cooking show by an eccentric four-armed alien chef, Gormanda. Anyways, the good news is we won't be watching this. The most horrific of horrific Star Wars horrordom, and will instead be viewing the much more fun Spaceballs from 1987 tonight at 10:30 p.m. May the Schwartz be with you. Back to you, Brenda. Oh, and by the way, if you need to refreshing of the movie, you can watch it very, very quickly on the hot link that's available at W5FC.org. Back to you, Brenda. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I see here National Space Society events. There is, I see in the document now, there is some information on it. It says that Tom, KE5ICX, can read it. So go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. Now I just got to find it myself. It's somewhere in here. Where is it? Hold on. All right, I found it. Here it is. Don't forget, we've got Chaz as well. He actually comes before this usually. That's why I got a little lost. But the National Space Society, Bill sent this to me and asked if I'd read it. It says the National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in exploration and development of space and the creation of the space-faring nation or civilization. Our local NSS chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type in National Space Society of North Texas in the search box and request access. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The next chapter meeting will be held on Sunday, July 13th. Also, our meetings are also available virtually using WebEx. You can contact Bill and 5DB if you'd like to attend. The big event each year is the National Space Society, and it is the International Space Development Conference, or ISDC 2025, which is being held right now in Orlando, Florida, from June 19th to 22nd. Bill and 5DB and other North Texas NSS chapter meetings people are there. Our local chapter won Chapter of Excellence Award at this meeting. Also, on the last Friday evening of each month from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant at 700 West Highway, 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. 7 people attended the May 30th rendezvous event yesterday evening. The next Space Rendezvous will be held Friday evening on June 27th. On Saturday, July 19th, the NSS North Texas chapter will participate in Moon Day event at the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Dallas. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill N5DB at his QRZ listed email address, which is space@byrom, BYROM.net. That's it, Brenda, on that one. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I'm sorry I'm so disorganized tonight. It just didn't go together right, and then all the pieces kind of fell apart, and putting it back together, I just didn't know what a human was supposed to look like. Okay, Chaz, KF5JHA, would you please tell us events about the Texas Astronomical Society?
Brenda. Just wait till your cat starts walking on your keyboard. That'll even be more fun. Bob just left. Bob the cat just left from beside my computer. I'm feeling much better about this now. All right, so on June the 27th, that's just about 6 days, is the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting is held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas. It's also held on Zoom. Now, the original speaker canceled. So there's a second string team that has volunteered to present the featured program. The featured speaker will be Chaz Hafey. I don't know who he is. And his sidekick, Dennis Harwell. He'd probably debate that he's the hero and I'm the sidekick. The topic is going to be the overview of the 2025 Texas Star Party and a double feature of the Constellation of the Month. Yep, do the Constellation of the Month there because it's only a monthly thing rather than a weekly thing like Skynet is. The constellations will be Virgo and Scorpius. We've done both of those recently here. Now, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas hosts Saturday night public observing sessions in the Dallas area. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the TASS public observing sessions. Now, on the third Saturday of the month, the stargazing is held on Cedar Hill. By the way, this is the third Saturday. Is there anyone at Cedar Hill that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign if you'd like to make a report. Well, last time I checked it had been clearing off outside, so maybe it's active out there. I don't know. I hope there is people out there looking through telescopes. Nice thing to look at tonight. Several things. We've got some of the summertime stuff, and we'll talk about some of that during the Constellation of the week here in a little bit. You can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JJ, sending it back to our net control. Hey, I hear you fine now, Brenda.
Wonderful. Now, Coco's asleep on the bed. He doesn't know I'm here yet. He'll figure it out. He'll come running in here and jump on the keyboard because he has a lot to say, too. I have an announcement about Moon Day. As y'all know, I used to work for the Frontiers Flight Museum. Moon Day is very near and dear to my heart. I was there for the very first one in 2005. Yeah, we opened in 2004, so it would have been the next year. And it's been a very successful event, all things moon, because it's held closest to the anniversary of the first moon landing. And it's a great event for kids. Kids can earn scout badges. If you go to flightmuseum.com, you'll see a you'll see the list of activities and things. The DARC will have a table there. We'll be talking to the kiddies about ham radio, maybe let them learn how to spell their name in Morse code or something. Also be lectures by Dr. Billy Cheek and Professor Chaz Hafey, if you recognize those names. Billy's going to do a presentation on how to take your own awesome pictures of the moon, and Chaz is going to do one on Apollo and moon phases. We generally have an astronaut there who speaks. Our keynote speaker tonight, this time, is by Carl E. Walls, Colonel USAF, retired. He was a NASA astronaut from 1990 to 2008. He logged 231 days in space on 4 space flights, including the 196-day expedition for crew aboard the International Space Station. He conducted 3 spacewalks, totaling more than 18 hours, evaluating tools for the Hubble Space Telescope refurbishment and outfitting the ISS. So, maybe even get a chance to meet him. So it's a fun event if you like space, if you like the moon, and we do it every year. So join us. We'll be there. Okay. Are there any more check-ins over the air now?
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra. It's Gus, far northeast Dallas.
Okay, W5GUS Gus, welcome to the net. All right, the next section is by me, Recent Astronomical Discoveries, and I am WB5OZL. This is from Science Daily. It's about the Parker Solar Probe. New research led by apologies, I just can't seem to hold this thing. I'm on my phone on Echolink. It's usually pretty reliable, but tonight it is not. Anyway, new research led by the Southwest Research Institute scientists identified a new source of energetic particles near the Sun. These definitive observations were made by instruments aboard NASA's Parker Solar Probe, which detected the powerful phenomena as the spacecraft dipped in and out of the solar corona. These new results offer fresh perspectives on how magnetic reconnection could heat the solar atmosphere, which then transitions into the solar wind, and also how solar flares accelerate a small fraction of charged particles to near relativistic speeds. Through the SWRI-led magnetospheric multi-scale mission, scientists made the first direct detection of the source of magnetic reconnection near Earth, observing how this explosive physical process converts stored magnetic energy into kinetic energy and heat, said SWRI's Dr. Mahir Desai, lead author of a new paper about this research. Now Parker has made direct observations of how magnetic reconnection at the heliospheric current sheet, HCS, where the interplanetary field reverses its polarity, energizes charged particles to extremely high energies. As Parker crossed the HCS, scientists discovered a sunward-directed reconnection jet and sunward propagating highly energetic protons, establishing their origin from HCS reconnection sites and not from unrelated processes at the Sun. Within the core of the reconnection exhaust, Parker detected trapped energetic protons 1,000 times greater than the available magnetic energy per particle. These findings indicate that magnetic reconnection in the HCS is an important source of energetic particles in the near-sun solar wind. Desai said, everywhere there are magnetic fields, there will be magnetic reconnection. But the sun's magnetic fields are much stronger near the stars, so there's a lot more stored energy to be released. Magnetic reconnection, when magnetic field lines coverage break apart and reconnect in an explosive physical process, energizes particles and generates high-speed flows. At the heart of space weather, reconnection is responsible for powerful solar events such as solar flares and coronal mass ejections, and drives disturbances in Earth's space environment. Such disturbances produce spectacular auroras, but can also shut down electrical power grids and disrupt satellite-based communication and navigation systems. Reports from the American Meteorological Society indicated that the powerful solar events of May 2024 wreaked havoc with farmers when extreme geomagnetic storms disrupted the precise GPS-guided navigation systems used to plant, fertilize, and harvest rows of seeds, causing an estimated loss of up to $500 million in earning potential, Desai said. Parker's access to this new data is critical, particularly as we remain in the midst of a very active solar system. Going to reset. Parker was able to make these measurements due to its record-breaking proximity to the Sun, flying through its corona up to 3 times a year. Of particular interest is understanding how the Sun's atmosphere heats up and accelerates the solar wind. Understanding these processes can also help scientists develop ways to predict and mitigate the effects of solar flares and CMEs, as well as provide new insights for laboratory fusion research. The Parker Solar Probe was developed as part of NASA's Living with a Star program to explore aspects of the Sun-Earth system that directly affect life and society. The Living with a Star program is managed by the agency's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, for NASA's Science Mission Directorate in Washington. The Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory designed, built, and operates the spacecraft and manages the mission for NASA. This is WB5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins?
This is Whiskey Bravo 4 Mike Foxtrot India WB4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
Okay, we have Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot India, Ted, welcome to the net. And then going over to the on-air online check-ins, we have Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia and Fort Worth, and Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Welcome to the net, everybody. So, next up is the discussion topic of the evening. We watched several movies together for Afterglow about black holes, so it kind of made me think, could you really go into a black hole, and if you did, is it going to be like Dante's Inferno like it is in the movie? The movies are frankly stupid, but that's Hollywood. So this is an article entitled, Scientists Finally Discover What's Inside a Black Hole. What lies at the center of a black hole? A team of scientists led by Enrico Rinaldi, an American physicist at the University of Michigan, has utilized quantum computing and computer learning to decipher the mathematical description of the quantum state of the matrix model, shedding light on what may lie inside a black hole. The study was based on a holographic principle which postulates that the two fundamental theories of particles and gravity are equivalent to one another. However, the challenge lies in the fact that these ideas are constructed at different dimensions, or in different dimensions. Two theories offer explanations for different dimensions, with only one distinction between them. Gravity exists in 3 dimensions within a black hole's geometry, whereas particle physics resides on the surface in 2 dimensions, similar to a flat disk. A black hole's massive mass distorts space-time, creating its gravity that operates in 3 dimensions. This gravity links mathematically to the particles gyrating above the black hole in 2 dimensions. Therefore, while a black hole occupies 3-dimensional space, it appears to observers as a projection of particles. Going to reset. According to some scientists, our entire universe could be a holographic depiction of particles, which might prove a consistent quantum explanation of gravity. Enrico Rinaldi explains that in Einstein's general relativity theory, there are no particles, only space-time, while in the standard model of particle physics, there are no gravitational forces, only particles. Bridging these two theories has been a persistent challenge in physics for decades. A recent study by Rinaldi and his colleagues, published in the journal PRX Quantum, explores the use of quantum computing and deep learning to investigate holographic duality. Their research focuses on determining the lowest energy state of quantum matrix models, which are mathematical problems that can help probe the laws of the nature of this duality. The use of quantum matrix models represents particle theory. According to holographic duality, the mathematical events that occur in a system representing particle theory can also impact a system representing gravity. Thus, by solving a quantum matrix model, one could gain insights into gravity-related phenomena. Rinaldi and his colleagues have utilized two matrix models, which are relatively uncomplicated to solve through conventional means, but possess all of the attributes of more complex matrix models employed to describe black holes using holographic duality. We hope that by understanding the properties of this particle theory through the numerical experiments, we understand something about gravity, as Rinaldi. Unfortunately, it's still not easy to solve the particle theories, and that's where the computers help us. I'm going to reset. In string theory, objects are represented by numerical matrix models where one-dimensional strings correspond to particles in particle theory. The focus of researchers is to determine the specific arrangement of particles in the ground state, the lowest energy state of the system, by solving these matrix models. Unless something is added to the system that causes it to be perturbed, it remains unchanged in its natural state. It's really important to understand what this ground state looks like, because then you can create things from it, Rinaldi says. So for a material, knowing the ground state is like knowing, for example, if it's a conductor, or if it's a superconductor, or if it's really strong, or if it's weak. But finding the ground state among all possible states is a quite difficult task. That's why we're using these numerical methods. According to Rinaldi, the numbers in matrix models can be thought of as grains of sand. When the sand is level, it corresponds to the ground state of the model. But if there are ripples in the sand, you need to find a way to smooth them out. To tackle this problem, researchers resorted to quantum circuits. These circuits are depicted as wires. Each wire is associated with a qubit, a quantum information bit. Gates, which are quantum operations that dictate how information flows through the wires, are placed on top of the wires. You can read them as music going from left to right. The author says, if you read it as music, you're basically transforming the qubits in the beginning into something new each step. But you don't know which operations you should do as you go along, which notes to play. The shaking process will tweak all these gates to make them take the correct form such that at the end of the entire process, you reach the ground state. So you have all this music. If you play it right, at the end, you have the ground state. Going to reset. Rinaldi and colleagues established a mathematical representation of the quantum state of their matrix model, which they referred to as the quantum wave function. Subsequently, they employed a unique neural network to determine the ground state of the matrix, which is the state of the lowest energy level. To achieve this, the neural network's parameters underwent an iterative optimization process aimed at leveling all the grains in the bucket of sand until the matrix's ground state was found. The researchers were successful in determining the ground state of the two matrix models using both methods. However, the quantum circuits were constrained by the limited number of qubits available in current quantum hardware. With only a few dozen qubits at their disposal, increasing the complexity of the circuit would become prohibitively expensive, much like adding too many notes to a sheet of music would make it more difficult to play accurately. Other methods people typically use can find the energy of the ground state, but not the entire structure of the wave functions, Rinaldi said. We have shown how to get the full information about the ground state using these new emerging techniques, quantum computers, and deep learning. Because these matrices are one possible representation for a special type of black hole, and we know how the matrices are arranged and what their properties are, we can know, for example, what a black hole looks like on the inside. What is on the event horizon of a black hole? Where does it come from? Answering these questions could be a step towards realizing a quantum theory of gravity. According to Rinaldi, the findings serve as a crucial milestone for forthcoming research on quantum and machine learning algorithms. These algorithms can be applied by scholars to investigate quantum gravity through the concept of holographic duality. This article goes on and on for some time, so probably I'm thinking maybe you could go and look it up and read the rest of it yourself. I didn't honestly realize it was quite this long when I picked this. So let's move on. This is W5OZL. Next we're going to go to Chaz, K5JHA, who's going to present What's Up. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Just to give you an update about Bob the cat, he's actually out on the balcony. There's a door between me and him, so this is a good deal. Yeah. Slide Master, that would be Tom. Slide number 2, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up. This is all about what has gone on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide Master, slide number 3. We talked about the predicted nova of star T Corona Borealis, which may have erupted any time. I'm laughing because it was supposed to have been gone up maybe a year ago, but no. It's currently at a brightness of 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star, which is 2nd magnitude. I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location here in Mesquite. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. Now, this image of the sun was taken on June the 20th. That would be day before yesterday. I'm sorry. It was on Friday, yeah. From spaceweather.com. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are sometimes so large that you could use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. No magnification needed. Now, the sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. We're not quite sure when the solar maximum will occur until after it happens. Now, I've talked about the solar cycle about 3 months ago on Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. On June the 18th, the moon was at 3rd quarter phase. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On June the 22nd, that's tomorrow, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 363,178 kilometers. On June the 25th, the moon will be new. On July the 2nd, the moon is at its 1st quarter phase. On July the 4th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,627 kilometers. On July the 10th, the moon will be full. Slide Master, slide number 6. On June the 20th, at 9:42 p.m. Central Daylight Time, well, that was yesterday, that was the moment of the summer solstice for the Northern Hemisphere. This is the longest day and the shortest night for the entire Northern Hemisphere. Wow. Okay, if you didn't celebrate it, you can do it. Today's the first full day of summer. Slide Master slide number 7. On June the 22nd, in the eastern early morning sky, there's going to be a conjunction of Venus and the planet Uranus, and the Pleiades star cluster is pretty close beside as well. You'll need to have a pair of binoculars at least to see Uranus. Slide Master slide number 8. Also on June the 22nd, but in the western evening sky, there's a conjunction of Mercury and the bright star Pollux. Pollux is in the constellation of Gemini, the twins. Slide number 9. On June the 26th, you can observe the moon in between Mercury and Pollux in the western evening sky. That'll be a pretty sight to see. It might be strong twilight. You might need a pair of binoculars to get through the light glow of the evening sky. Slide number 10. June meteors. June the 26th to 27th has a peak of the June Roti meteor shower with about, maybe a few meters per hour, but they could peak at over 100 meters per hour. It's a very variable meteor shower. Now, most of the time you can see the most meters in an hour just before dawn. To get more detailed information about how to observe meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 11, please. On June the 27th, there's going to be a conjunction of the moon and M44. That's also known as the Beehive Star Cluster in the western evening sky. The planet Mercury is close by. Again, it's going to be in the evening twilight, so you might need a pair of binoculars to observe all this. Slide number 12. On June the 29th, the moon and Mars will be in conjunction in the western evening sky. They will be less than half a degree apart from each other. It'll be an interesting thing to see. Slide number 13. The planet Mercury and the open star cluster M44 will be very close together. Once again, M44 is known as the Beehive Star Cluster. They'll be in conjunction in the western evening sky. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 14. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question, or maybe you need a fill on any of the information I've just given you? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
The owner of Birdland. Go ahead, Tony.
I know, it's strange, but I was actually distracted by a dog and not our bird. So I didn't hear all of your presentation. I wondered if I missed it. Have you mentioned the new nova in Lupus? Did you mention V462 Loopy, NT5TM?
Oh, no, I haven't. I need to look this up. I'll look this up and talk about that maybe with our Constellation of the Week segment in a few minutes. Thank you. I will be diligent and look that up over the next few minutes. Thanks. All right, Slide Master, slide number 15. So, as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now, and until the next time, actually, I'll be doing another segment on Skynet I just talked about in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And, Tony, I'll look this up in just a few moments. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet, transmitting on the W5FC repeater at 146.88 megahertz. Back to our net control. Brenda, it's up to you. I got to do some research real quick.
Well, this is exciting. We'll be waiting with bated breath. Thank you, Chaz. I see on Echolink we have KD5LQD, Jimmy. I don't think he's checked in, so I'll add him to the list. Does anyone else want to check in or be added to the list? Please come down.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5 PLT, Bill. Darwin.
Kilo Charlie 5, Mike Papa Oscar, Jamie, North Dallas.
Okay, we picked up W5BLT, Bill, and KC5, Mike Papa Oscar, Jamie. Welcome to the net. All right, next up is space exploration and space history, and this will be read to us by Gus, W5GUS. Go ahead, Gus.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. W5GUS here. Well, while Chaz is looking up the new information on the new NOVA, the biggest news here around Texas anyway is the SpaceX exploded rocket that happened. SpaceX's massive Starship spacecraft exploded into a dramatic fireball during testing in Texas late Wednesday, the latest in a series of setbacks for Elon Musk's Mars rocket program. The explosion occurred around 11 p.m. local time while Starship was at its test stand in Texas, Starbase. While preparing for the 10th test flight, SpaceX said in a post on Musk's media platform X, that the company attributed it to a major anomaly, I'll say, and said all personnel were safe. Its engineering teams were investigating the incident, and it was coordinating with local, state, and federal agents regarding environmental and safety impacts. Preliminary data suggests that a nitrogen canister failed below its proof pressure, said Musk. He's referring to a nitrogen gas storage unit known as a composite overwrapped pressure vessel, or a COPV. Further investigations confirm that this is what happened. It is the first time ever that one of these pressure vessels had failed. Also, the Starship rocket appeared to experience at least 2 explosions in quick succession, lighting up the night sky and sending debris flying, according to video capturing the moment it exploded. As you probably know, the 440-story-foot tall Starship rocket system is at the core of Musk's goal of sending humans to Mars. Okay, and Brenda had talked about some information on the black hole. So, and here's some latest information about that. Where the researchers used an AI model to create a new image of the black hole at the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. But that is with some concern from the experts. The monster black hole at the center of our galaxy is spinning at top speed, according to a new artificial intelligence model. The model, trained partially on complex telescope data that was previously considered too noisy to be useful. It aims to create the most detailed black hole image ever. However, based on the questionable quality of the data, not all experts are convinced that the AI model is accurate. In fact, one of them said, "I'm very sympathetic and interested in what they're doing." Reinhard Genzel, astrophysicist at the Max Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics in Germany, and one of the winners of the 2020 Nobel Prize in Physics, said, but artificial intelligence is not a miracle cure. For decades, scientists have been trying to observe and characterize Sagittarius A, which is the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. In May of 2022, they unveiled the first ever image of this enormous object, but there were still a number of questions, such as how it behaves. Now, an international team of scientists have attempted to harness the power of AI to glean more information about Sagittarius A from data collected by the Event Horizon Telescope, the EHT. Unlike some telescopes, the EHT doesn't reside in a single location. Rather, it's composed of several linked instruments scattered across Earth that work in tandem. The EHT uses long electromagnetic waves up to 1 millimeter in length to measure the radius of the environment surrounding the black hole. However, this technique, known as a very long baseline interferometry, is very susceptible to interference from water vapor in Earth's atmosphere. This means it can be tough for researchers to make sense of information the instruments collect. Quote, it's very difficult to deal with the data from the Event Horizon Telescope. An astrophysicist at Radboud University in the Netherlands and co-author of the study told Life Science magazine. A neutral network is ideally suited to solve this problem. He and his team trained an AI model on EHT data that had been previously disregarded for being too noisy. In other words, there's too much atmospheric static to decipher information using classical technique. And pinpointing the rotational speed of Sagittarius A would give scientists clues about how radiation behaves around supermassive black holes and offer insight into the stability of the disk of matter around it. However, not everyone is convinced that the new AI is totally accurate. According to Gensel, the relatively low quality of the data going into the model could have biased it in unexpected ways. As a result, the new image may be somewhat distorted and shouldn't be taken at 100% face value. In the future, he and his team plan to apply their technique to the latest EHT data then and measure it against real-world results. They hope this analysis will help to refine this model and improve future simulations. Okay, let's move on to space-related birthdays this past week. Taylor Wang, June 16th, 1940, STS 51. And then June 20th is a pretty popular birth date for space people. Brian Duffy, June 20th, 1953, STS 45, STS 57, STS 72, STS 92. Also June 20th, but in 1945, James Buchley, 1945, STS-51, STS-61, STS-29, and STS-48. Another June 20th birthday, Gary Payton, 1948. He was on STS-51C. Okay, we'll move on to space history now. June 16th, 1963, Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space. After launching on Vostok 6, her spacecraft came within 3 miles of Vostok 5, which was launched a couple days earlier. She radioed the cosmonaut aboard Vostok 5 and used the call sign Chakaika, which means seagull in Russian. She orbited the Earth 48 times before landing on June the 19th, a few days later. Okay, let's go way back to June 18th, 1983. Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off from Kennedy Space Center on June 18th, 1983. Sally Ride became the first American woman to fly in space. She also became the youngest American astronaut in space. Many of the people watching the launch wore T-shirts bearing the words "Ride, Sally, Ride." Lyrics from the Wilson Pickett song "Mustang Sally." The purpose of the mission was to deploy 2 communication satellites for Canada and for Indonesia. Both were deployed during the first 2 days of the mission. And a little more about Sally Ride. A documentary about Sally Ride recently debuted on the National Geographic streaming channel a few days ago on June 16th, 2025. And the Disney Hulu on June 17th, is called Sally. Okay, Karen James of the Hollywood Reporter wrote, quote, "In the richly detailed Sally, it reveals both personal and professional aspects of Ride's life, showing how they were intertwined." Wow, imagine that. With Tam O'Shaughnessy as the central narrator, the documentary includes eye-opening interviews with family members and former astronauts and archival video of Ride herself to create an engaging, socially relevant portrait of an American heroine and of the culture. Okay, June 21st, 2004. So that was 20 years ago. On June 21st, 2004, 2004, the first privately funded human space flight launched on Spaceship One. The ship flew 62.5 miles above Earth's surface, just a few miles above the boundary of space, for about 3 minutes before gliding back down to Earth. Spaceship One was 28 feet long, about 5 feet in diameter, and had short, wide wings spanning 16 feet. There was 1 pilot and up to 2 passengers could fit on board Spaceship One, and flew into space 2 more times that same year. And in October 2014, Spaceship One won the $10 million X Prize for being the first privately developed and reusable spacecraft to make multiple trips into space. The spacecraft is now on display at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. And with that, we'll go back to net control for looking forward to Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Back to you, Brenda, W5GUS.
Thank you so much, Gus. This is WB5OZL. We have another Echolink check-in, November 1, November Hotel Tango, Jay. And he says, 18-wheel mobile. So welcome, Jay. All right, next is, do we have any more on-air check-ins? Okay, next segment is, we go back to Chaz, KF5JHA, JHA, for Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Once again, Bob the cat is next to the computer again. I could be in trouble. Tony, thank you so much for letting me know about the nova that's in Lupus. That's the constellation of the Wolf. That's located in the sky in between Scorpius and Centaurus. So it's in the southern part of the sky, way far south. But let's see now. The All-Sky Automated Survey Supernova, ASASSN, as it's called, discovered it on the 12th of June. Now, at the time of its discovery, it was at magnitude 8.7. That would barely be visible in a pair of binoculars. But as of just 3 days ago, it has brightened to a magnitude of 5.7 here in very dark, clear skies with wonderful weather. You might be able to see that star with just your two eyes, but binoculars wouldn't make it much better. Wow. So look forward to getting more information. So it's brightened even after its discovery. Usually we find it dimming after discovery, but this time it's still brightening. That's awesome. Thank you again, Tony, for that information. Must have been asleep at the switch. Okay, yes, this is KF5JHA, and this is Chaz. Slide number 16, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Ms. Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Hercules, the Strongman. We did Lupus, I think a few weeks ago, yeah. Hercules is the son of the god Zeus and a mortal mother. He is best known for the 12 labors, which was almost an impossible list for things he was required to do. Hera, who had tried to kill Hercules ever since he was born, induced a madness in him that made him kill his wife and child. Hercules went to the Oracle of Delphi to atone. He prayed to the god Apollo for guidance and was told to serve the king Argus for 10 years. During that time, he was sent to perform a series of 12 difficult feats called labors. To this day, an almost impossible task is called a Herculean task. Wow. Slide number 17, the jokes of the week. Now, if you're over on Echolink, you can boo or hiss. You can make comments about my jokes. It's kind of hard to do it on the air because I'll have the mic keyed up the whole time. I can't hear you applauding either. Yeah, okay. So, why is Hercules the most suitable midwife out of all the demigods? A midwife? Oh, because he's already been through 12 labors. Oh, come on, that was funny. What do you call a female Hercules? A Hemicles? What would you call Hercules if he were one of the 7 dwarfs? Maybe Hemicles? What is Hercules' least favorite car? Mercedes? I don't know if that was very funny. Everyone cheered when Hercules cleaned the Aegean sables. Everyone except the people living downstream. And the final one, here we go. What motivated Hercules to face against the Cerberus? Someone triple dog dared him. If you don't know what that was, it's a dog with multi-heads. Yeah, okay, fine. Slide master, slide number 18, please. The star SZ Hercules is a variable star that ranges in brightness from magnitude 10.2 down to a magnitude 12.8. Its brightness cycle repeats about every 16 hours, so you can actually collect a good portion of the brightness curve in a single observing session. SZ Hercules variability arises from the fact that it's a spectroscopic binary. In other words, probably one star goes in front of the other one. Wow. S Hercules is another variable star, which is much longer period of 307 days. S Hercules varies in brightness from magnitude 5.9 down to a magnitude of 13.6. Alpha Hercules, which is Ras Algazi, translates to the head of the kneeler. Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that Hercules is often depicted as kneeling in the act of stringing his bow. Beautiful double star is what it is, and it's a reddish gold primary with a bluish secondary. The color combination resembles a miniature Alberio. If you don't know what Alberio is, we'll talk about Cygnus this long in Constellation and future Skynet. Slide master, slide number 19, please. Probably one of the most famous MESI objects is M13, also known as NGC 6205. It's the Great Globular Cluster in Hercules, the finest globular cluster north of the celestial equator. The best one in the entire sky is Omega Centauri, but it's difficult to see from here. It can be seen, but it's difficult because it's so low in the southern sky. But M13 is easy to see. Discovered by Edmund Halley in 1714, the first mention of an astronomical writings by him that following year. Though M13 is visible to the unaided eye, the fact that it was not a single star was not apparently recognized until Halley noticed it. Halley himself first noticed that the cluster shows itself, hold on, I missed my place. Shows itself as a naked eye object in the sky since if the moon is absent. Messier himself thought that M13 was a nebula with a bright center, as his small telescope could not resolve it into stars. But he was able to see it. That's a good deal. If we lived inside M13, the appearance of the heaven would be spectacular in comparison, because the heavens would be filled with uncountable numbers of blazing bright stars, which would dwarf our own Sirius and Canopus. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. Canopus is the second brightest. And they would be dwarfed in brightness. Many thousands of stars ranging in brilliance between Venus and the full moon would be continually visible, so that there would not be a real nighttime sky anywhere on the planet, anytime. Wow. That would be interesting living there. What if we can go there sometime soon? Slide, master, slide number 20. Another Messier object in Hercules, M92, is Hercules' other Messier object. Robert Burnham Jr. notes that M92 is a beautiful, rich, globular cluster which is almost in any other constellation would be considered a major show object. In Hercules, it's somewhat overshadowed by the spectacular M13. M92, like M13, is easily visible in binoculars or a finder scope. Eagle-eyed Stephen James Amira, in his book The Mezzi Objects, notes that he can see M92 without optical aid, and that is one night that he discovered the two nebulous globular clusters can be seen simultaneously with the unaided eye. He's one of the few people that could see it naked eye. M92 is noticeably smaller than M13. Look at it in one of your telescopes without changing the eyepieces and slew over to the other, and you'll see the difference in size. M92 is a bright, dense core and appears oval-shaped, slightly elongated to the north and south. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 21. Now, there's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Hercules, the Strongman. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs. Now, most of them have about 100 objects in them. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide Master, slide number slide number 22. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Hercules the Strongman. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal from them for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week I'll take a look at serpents, the snake. I wonder where that is in the sky. In fact, there's two pieces to it. This is KF5JJ, Chaz, saying good night and 73. Back to our net control, Brenda. It's all yours.
Thank you, Chaz. That was very interesting. All right, next up, space launches for this week. I'm going to call on Tom, KE5ICX, to report on those. Go ahead, Tom.
All right, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX, and strangely enough, this is one of those rare cases where everything is to be determined. I don't have any actual solid date for anything this week. I'm not sure why that is. It just is what it is, I guess. But I'll give you the best guesses that we've got for launches. We have the Axiom Mission 4 coming up, AX4. This will launch from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy. It will be the fourth private astronaut mission to the International Space Station and includes former NASA astronaut Axiom Space Director of human spaceflight, will serve as commander of the mission. This will be her fifth trip into space and her second time commanding a private mission. Shubhasu Shukla. Sławek Wieniecki, a Polish member of the European Space Agency, astronaut reserve class of 2022, and Tyler Hapu, a Hungarian member of the Hungarian to Orbit astronaut program, will serve as mission specialist. These four astronauts will spend up to 14 days docked to the ISS after launching from Kennedy Space Center on a Falcon 9 rocket. Following the space separation, the booster will target a touchdown on landing zone 1. Then we have coming up the Kuiper 2 mission. This will be launched from SLC 41 someday. Cape Canaveral Space Force. This will be a station. This will be an Alliance Atlas V rocket with the 551 configuration. This will launch the 27 Project Kuiper satellites for Amazon. The mission is referred to as Kuiper Atlas 02 by Amazon. Then we have coming up maybe, well, it does show a date here of June 24th, so I stand corrected. This will be the GOSAT GW mission, flying on the H-2A from Kagoshima Space Center in Japan. This Satellite will observe greenhouse gases and water cycle. GOSAT GW is a Japanese Earth observing satellite, roughly 6,400 pounds. The satellite will operate in a sun-synchronous orbit at an altitude of 414 miles. The spacecraft comes with a partnership between the Japanese Ministry of Environment, National Institute of Environmental Studies, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. The two primary instruments are the Total Anthrogenetic and Natural Emissions Mapping Spectrometer 3, that's the TANSO 3, and the Advanced Microwave Scanning Radiometer 3, or AMSTER 3. This will be the 50th and final launch of the H-2A rocket. Also coming up is Test Flight 1. This will be launched from the Bowen Orbital Spaceport, Pad 1. This is located in, Australia, at the Gilmore Space in Australia. It is preparing to launch the inaugural flight of its Ares Block 1 rocket. The three-stage launch vehicle is 82 feet tall and is equipped with a 4.9 diameter payload fairing. The rocket is designed to send up to 305 kilograms into low Earth orbit. This first mission is called the Imaginative Test Flight 1. Does not appear to have a payload on board. Then we have sometime in the summer a Falcon 9 Tracers mission. This is from SOC4E at Vandenberg over on the west coast. NASA's Tracer, or Tandem Reconnection and Cusp Electrodynamics Reconnaissance Satellites, that's a mad mouthful, as a primary payload on a rideshare mission secured to the agency's Vader, or Venture Class Acquisition and Dedicated and Rideshare Launch Services. I think Vader's easier, though, or better. Providing new opportunities for space and technology payloads. The two Tracer satellites are designed to study the interaction of the sun's solar particles and interact with Earth's magnetic field to better understand the impacts of solar activity on Earth. Then we have in July a mission from Launch Complex 39A, or it could be SOC-40. Both are Falcon 9 launch sites at Kennedy and Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch in the geostationary orbit around Earth on behalf of the European Organization for the European Exploration of Meteorological Satellites. In addition to its infrared sounder instrument, the spacecraft will also host European Union's Copernicus Sentinel-4 mission. The S-1 is designed to observe the full life cycle of convective storms from space and create more accurate forecasts. The spacecraft was originally manifested as a payload for the third flight of the Ariane 6 rocket, but has shifted to the Falcon 9 in June of 2024. Now, I'll go ahead and, if you don't mind, I'll take the liberty and give you satellite passes since I'm next on this one. So let me just zip on over there and I'll give you, there's only a few. So when this pops up, I'll be able to tell you. Let me break for a second. Above.com website's going very slowly tonight. That's the first time I've ever noticed a slowdown like that. But we have 3 passes for the International Space Station, June 22nd. There are 2 passes. Both of them are 1.6 magnitude, minus 1.6 magnitude. But the really good one is the second one. This will be minus 1.6 magnitude at 5:17 in the morning. It'll reach its highest point at 19 degrees at 5:19:38, and it'll fall to the north-northeast at 5:22. Then we have on January 23rd, the following morning, minus 2.5 magnitude. It's much brighter, although it's pretty bright to begin with from previous stats. 4:30 in the morning. It reaches its highest point at 4:30:57, and it'll fall to the north-northeast at 4:33. And then on January 25th, we have a minus 1.2 magnitude crossing at 4:29 a.m. Reach its highest point at 4:30 at 13 degrees, and it'll fall to the north at 4:32. And that's it. The Tiangong has no good passes coming up. The ones that I just named are all relatively low in the sky, but they are visible from North Texas. So, Brenda, I'll send it back to you. Thank you. This is KE5ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Well, we're just about right on time here, so we're gonna shut it down. Before we do that, anybody else want to check in or need any fills?
KJ5JNJ.
I think I understood Kilo Juliet 5, Juliet November Kilo, and could I have a name, please? And please confirm that call.
And you almost got it right there. It's Kilo Juliet 5, Juliet November Juliet. And my name is Justin in Conroe, Texas. I checked into a net on here earlier tonight, and then I thought I heard you call my call sign off a list again recently, but I did never hear myself called for. I'm not sure if I missed it, and I'm not familiar with the format here, so just wanted to check on that.
Okay, well, we have online and on-air check-in for this net. Most nets we just do online and, of course, Echolink. There's to check in through the website, you go to the W5FC website, and there's a link there that takes you to the place where you can check in electronically, which is pretty convenient. And but I'm not sure what you're talking about with the list. I honestly don't know about that. But welcome to the net. Unfortunately, it's time for us to go. So tonight we had 25 hams participating on the air. Thanks to everyone who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. Until next Saturday night, this is WB5OZL, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:29 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. But wait, there's more. The next net tonight is the Afterglow movie net. We're going to be reviewing Spaceballs. I'm going to ask Tom, KE5ICX, to let us know when we'll be starting that net. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. We'll be back in 5 minutes, and we'll be talking about the 1987 space opera parody film Spaceballs by Mel Brooks. So go pop some popcorn, bring it back, and we'll be discussing Spaceballs. 5 minutes. Alright, well, it's time to begin the Afterglow Movie Net, which is always about some movie. Usually it's an old movie, not a new movie, but it could be a new movie. It could be a newer movie. It could be a not-so-new movie. This one, straight... Who weren't alive then, that's fine. For the rest of us, which is most of us, we were alive then and saw this movie when we were adults. Or close to adults. Or thought we were acting like adults. And maybe we were and maybe we weren't. But we did see Spaceballs, maybe in the movie theater, maybe on VHS. Who knows? But that's our movie for this week. I'm KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I'll be your net control for tonight's Afterglow movie called Spaceballs with Mel Brooks, John Candy, Rick Moranis, and a bunch of other people. And their voices, too. Some of them disembodied. So let me tell you a little bit about the movie first. Just a little bit, and then we'll talk about the net. Spaceball is a 1987 American space opera parody film, co-written, produced, and directed by Mel Brooks. It primarily parodies the original Star Wars trilogy, but also other popular franchises such as Star Trek, Alien, The Wizard of Oz, 2001, Planet of the Apes, and Transformers. The film stars Bill Pullman, whoever that is, John Candy, Rick Moranis, and Daphne Zuniga, with a supporting cast including Dick Van Patten, George Weiner, Lorraine Yarrell, and the voice of Joan Rivers. In addition to Brooks playing a dual role, the film features Brooks' regulars Dom DeLuise and Rudy DeLuca in cameo performances. So the plot, briefly, is in Spaceballs, heroic mercenary Lone Star and his alien sidekick Barf rescue Princess Vespa of the planet Turidia and her droid Dot Matrix, Darnell voiced by Joan Rivers, from being captured by the Spaceballs, led by President Shroob, who was played by Brooks, who he wants to use Vespa as ransom to take Turidia's air for their own planet. However, the heroes get stranded on a desert moon where they encounter the wise Yogurt, also played by Brooks, who teaches Star about the metaphysical power known as the Schwartz. Meanwhile, Spaceball Commander Sanders' Dark Helmet and Colonel Sanders lead the search for them, but are hindered by their own incompetence. The film was released by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer on June 24th, 1987, a sequel to the early stages of development as of June 2025. In fact, there was a trailer that came out just a few days ago. It's supposed to be directed by Josh Greenbaum and co-written by Josh Gad and Brooks. The sequel will star Louis Pullman again, Kiki Palmer, and Gad, with Brooks, Pullman, Moranis, and Zuniga reprising their roles. The sequel has an anticipated theatrical release by MGM in 2027. All right, this is what we do. I will take check-ins asking for your call sign, your name, and did you see the Spaceballs from 1987. Then we will, once we get our check-ins, we will talk about the plot. I'll call on you each individually, see what you thought about the plot. Was it good, bad, indifferent, what you like, what you dislike. Of course, followed by a second round, which involves the acting and characterization, and followed by a third round, maybe abbreviated, depending on how long the first two go, which can be an anything goes round. The technical expertise of the film, which sometimes can be trying on less than professional productions, which we've seen. But in this case, you'd be getting a regular film from Warner Brothers. So, there you have it. That's what we'll be doing. I will go ahead and now take a check-in. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Spaceballs? Here we go. Woo!
This is November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony, in Dallas. Someone has to go first. Oh boy, we've seen this a lot.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford. Yep, I've seen it.
This is Kilo Zero Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas. Yes, I've seen it, but it's been a while, so I'm just going to be listening tonight.
This is Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar, Brian and Terrell, and I saw it back when it came out in the 80s and again in the 90s, but not since then. So a little rusty, but I'm really looking forward to it. It was a fun movie, K9AHO.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie probably like 100 times.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT. Bill?
I've lost track how many times I've seen it. I don't think it's 100. But I did see this movie multiple times.
This is WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yeah, I saw this movie once when it first came out and the second time last night. So.
Okay, let's see here. Let me go ahead. I'm going to need a couple of fills here. I've got Tony, NT5TM over in Dallas. Yes, you saw the film. KG5BZW near Weatherford. Yes, you saw the film. The next one I got is call. Chris, could you give me your full call?
Kilo Zero Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas.
All right, I got you. Kilo Zero Foxtrot Echo Romeo. That's Chris, Southeast Dallas. And yes, you said you saw the film. Good. Next up, I got the call right, but I didn't get the name. So I got Kilo 9 Delta Hotel Oscar over in Terrell. Could I get your name? And I hope I got your call sign right.
It was pretty close. Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar, Brian and Terrell. And a little rusty on the movie, so I might not have a whole lot to add, but I'm really going to enjoy this one. Thanks. K9AHO.
All right, thank you, Brian. I got Kilo 9 AHO over in Terrell, and you're just still listening, and that's perfectly okay. Next up is Virginia, NV5F, and she's in Fort Worth. Yes, she saw the film. Next up is Bill, W5BLT. Yes, he has seen the film. And WB5OZL, Brenda, over in Dallas. Yes, she has seen the film. Does anyone else wish to join us? I'm checking Echolink. There's a potential. Come now with your call sign. Your name, did you see Spaceballs from 1987?
This is Whiskey 5 Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Springtown. I've seen bits and pieces of it over the years, but I never had the gastronomical fortitude to watch it from start to finish. W5EBB.
very good. We've got W5EVV, David. Yes. Okay, anyone else? Did I miss anyone? Please come with your call, your name, and did you see Spaceballs? Okay, let's get the show on the road. We'll go ahead and start at the top of the list. That would be Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you get to tell us what you thought about the plot for Spaceballs from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Someone always has to break the ice. I don't like going first, but I'm willing to do it just to get everyone else talking. Erin and I really like this movie. She can't come to the radio right now, but, I think my favorite Mel Brooks movie is probably Blazing Saddles, like it is for a zillion other people, but this is still awfully good. If I could, I would improve, I don't know, the plot is great. I'm not sure where comments about the actual filming go, but I'm going to do that here. The execution of the plot is just slightly loose. I think this movie could go from good to great by taking about 2 minutes out of it, all in 2 or 3 second slices. Mel Brooks in this movie just often seems to wait slightly too long for a joke to land. That said, the jokes are great. Erin wanted me to specifically say that her favorite, she says this actually at least once a week, line is, "Fooled you!" And now you see, Lone Star, that evil will always win because good is dumb. She actually saw Spaceballs before she saw Star Wars. She's pretty sure she saw one of the prequels first, because she was just never really into the original Star Wars trilogy, but yet she loved the fun in this parody. My hair, he shot my hair. She points out that all women need is the right motivation to become instant bloodthirsty killers. They're all capable, they're just hiding it. As I sent a picture to Tom, I can't find a good way to share this with the whole net. I'd have to translate like a Robot 36 or PD-120 slow scan image here on this repeater. Erin found it hilarious that not only is there a Mr. Coffee and a Mr. Radar, but we literally own an appliance named Mr. Heater, which by good luck I installed right before the big freeze in 2021. So she just keeps laughing every time she sees Mr. Heater. Boop, boop. She wants to make the sound effects sometimes. So yeah, I thought the plot was great, just it needed a little trimming in its execution. She thought the plot was great, probably better than the original Star Wars. It's my third or fourth favorite Mel Brooks film. It's her number one. Man, just so much fun. NT5TM.
All right, very good. Thanks, Tony. And next up is Jay, KG5BZW. He's over near Weatherford. He's not in Weatherford, but he is near it. So, Jay, what did you think about the plot for Spaceballs?
All right, this is KG5BZW. It's one of those movies that it's enjoyable in its own way. Definitely, I agree. Not the best of Mel Brooks. I forgot how many silly puns there were in this film, and that's like most of the jokes. But I mean, Robin Hood Men in Tights. I mean, all those Mel Brooks films that, there's a lot of puns. He likes to use puns. I I don't know. How you talk about the plot of a comedy? I mean, some comedies actually, have a. I mean, it's not that this film doesn't have a plot. It surely does, but some of them have. Some comedies are well developed into plots, and this is. Well, I mean, it's a parody of stuff, so it's like it's good parody. I don't know what to say. I enjoyed it. It's I've watched it a few times, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. So I thought I would enjoy it a little bit more than I did. I did enjoy it for sure, but it's it has its flaws. I can't really say much more of that. I'll just end it in my comments there because it's like I don't. It's like there's nothing really to hate on or anything. So it's like it is a parody, and I don't know that there's anything bad in its parody or terribly comment worthy. But it is what it is. that makes it sound worse than it is. But I don't know. I'm not coming up with stuff to say, so I'll just leave it at that. KG5BTW.
All right, thank you, Jay. Next up is Chris, K0FER. Chris, you saw the film maybe many times. What did you think about the plot from KE5ICX?
It's been a long time since I've seen this film, so I'm going to just listen tonight, if you don't mind. No comment. Back to net, KZ4FER.
All right, well, there's a free-for-all round. All means, go ahead and recheck. We love comments, and even if one of the things too, just to mention it to anyone who's listening, is that sometimes the discussion, some of the best comments actually come from people who haven't even seen the film, whatever it is. They just hear comments about it and say, "This reminds me of," or "I'm reminded when I did see this film of," and so they sometimes come back into the conversation. Even though they start out, they think they're at a disadvantage. Sometimes it's an advantage because in some ways we get some really, really interesting conversation going. So don't be shy. If there's something that you see or you want to talk about, by all means, recheck. So I'll jump on down to Virginia, NV5F, Virginia. Your comments, what did you think about the plot?
Okay, thank you, Tom. First off, I wanted to let you know that Starlink is dropping a lot tonight, even just a few seconds after you start transmitting, and then it'll drop out for like 5 seconds, and then it'll come back and re-engage the repeater. I don't know if there's anything you can do from where you are, but I just wanted to let you know that we're losing you for a few seconds at a time. This evening. It happens some evenings more than others, so I just wanted to make you aware. I've seen Spaceballs a bunch of times. I said 100, but I probably actually sat and actually watched it seriously, less than that, but I've put it on just for the company of it a bunch of times, and so I know it really, really well. I've seen it a lot of times. It is my favorite Mel Brooks, and it's probably because I'm so genre sensitive. I don't like westerns, some of his other stuff, the genre, like the, I guess, historical epic genre, and some of the other ones. I like this one because it's a science fiction or space opera parody, and I know Star Wars so well. I do remember going to see this at the theater when I was a kid, and when I found out about it, I said something to my mom about it, and she, being of a very different sense of humor than me, just thought I would hate it because it's basically making fun of movies I like, and she told me in a very stern tone that it would probably be terrible and I would probably hate it, but a friend of mine and I went and saw it anyway, and we loved it. And I had another friend in college who also loved it, and it was one of our favorites to watch and joke about and quote. So I know this one practically by heart. I like the plot. I think it's, of all of Mel Brooks's movies, it's probably got one of the more heartfelt plots. It's actually a plot that could even be for almost like a family film. It has enough adult humor that it's not necessarily a family film, but I would also say on that front it is fairly mild, and a lot of the jokes are those which will, go over the heads of younger viewers. A lot of them went over my head when I was a kid. I also got a lot of them. But I think it's cool in that it does closely parody Star Wars enough to where you recognize all the elements, but it doesn't do a direct analog parody of Star Wars. And I like that the quote-unquote sort of Han Solo character is the main character. They didn't clutter it up by having, a Luke Skywalker character and a Han Solo character. They just kind of rolled them into one person. And I thought I still think it's a really good plot. I even get a little bit, emotional at some points in the story, especially if I haven't seen it in a while. And I thought it was simple and straightforward. It had enough reversals in it. It wasn't too tense or too intense. It moved fairly straightforwardly. Didn't have too much, it didn't have too many time lock related things, or it didn't have too many reversals. It was just the right amount, I think, and then they threw in some things that were just funny, like them stopping at the space diner and doing the whole little alien parody thing just for the heck of it. They threw in just enough of that just for the heck of it. I agree with Tony. Some of the jokes were a little slow to land. It almost seemed like editing stuff. Sometimes the editing was just a little bit not quite tight enough, almost like they didn't do one final edit on certain scenes to just tighten things up a little bit. And then some of it was super clever, the Mr. Coffee and Mr. Radar, and then they have Spaceballs, the fill in the blank of everything, and they of course got the videotape of Spaceballs, the video, and watched that and during the movie to find out what was going to happen next. I thought that was a good joke about what was at the time a fairly new concept, which was renting a movie. So I liked the topical stuff in it. Hard to believe the sequel's coming out 40 years. It'll be 40-year anniversary. They'll have a sequel, and of course in this movie they mentioned Spaceballs. Spaceballs 2, the sequel. Let's hope we can all come back for that. The search for more cash, and so I guess it's going to happen finally. I'm not a big sequel fan right now because when I was in Astoria, Oregon a couple weeks ago, we had a little time to kill, and we looked up the movies that were playing. Granted, their largest theater only has 4 screens. Every single one of those 4 screens had some kind of sequel or remake, and I thumbs down all of them. I didn't want to see any of them. I'm not very supportive of the movie industry right now. So I will probably go see the second Spaceballs movie because it is the sequel to this, but it is my favorite Mel Brooks movie, and I do think it's got a unique plot in that it is something that's kind of, it's a little bit heartwarming. Okay, back to net, MV5F.
well, I've just got a fire alarm alert here in the building, so I'm not sure what to do at this point. So, Tony, if you would like to take it over, the next person is Bill, W5BLT, followed by Brenda, WB50ZL. I should be back by then. If you don't mind, take it from here.
Sure, good. Be safe. This is still a great movie. To say it's only my fourth favorite Mel Brooks movie is still high praise. W5BLT. Hey, Bill, what do you think about the plot?
Well, I watched this in college. I didn't get to see it when it came out into the theaters. I watched it in cable with my college roommates, and of course, we were laughing about it. And then I watched it again. I thought, oh, this is really corny. I'm never watching it again. Once is enough. Twice is enough. And I keep watching it. It's just that corny and funny. And of course, I thought Joan Rivers. Well, I'm going to get into characterization again. I guess I can save that. But it was just fun. I did like how they rolled in the Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and one of the funny scenes where I think it was Dark Helmet was playing with the toys, the action figures, and it's just kind of stuff that's just really fun, and it pokes fun at Star Wars. I love Star Wars, and I love science fiction movies, and Mel Brooks just pokes fun at this stuff, and it's just a neat movie. And yeah, I wish some of the stuff it could have been maybe a more friendly, family-friendly movie. There are some maybe kind of adult jokes, and yeah, they go past you as a kid, but just it's fun to watch and just see how it was kind of put together, and the whole adventure, and just how it sort of pokes fun at a movie that a lot of us love. And I too have to echo the sentiments of not liking sequels. I wish people could write new characters and new movie plots without having to rehash the old ones. But I have to admit, I probably will see if I sit through the second movie 2 years from now. And back to you, Tony. Thanks for taking over the net and stuff. So, W5BLT.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, oh boy. All the 37 Marvel Comic Universe films. When I saw the movie Being John Malkovich years ago, I thought that movie should deserve a special one-time Academy Award, only given out on the single occasion, this one moment, and that Oscar would have been called First Original Screenplay. I just thought the idea of a portal into John Malkovich's head was like the first new thing I'd ever heard in movies in my life. And it might still be. I really appreciate that, but yeah, I loved hearing you say once is enough, twice is enough, because you know how that goes. Now, 3 times is not enough. Maybe the 4th time isn't good enough either. You should watch it a 5th time. Very good, very good. Glad you liked it. Next up, WB50ZL. Brenda, what did you think of the plot?
Oh, thank you, Tony. This is WB50ZL. Well, I'll give it this. The plot was easy to understand, easy to follow. You can't say that about every movie in the world, but this one was not very confusing. It was very predictable. It was okay. It is what it is. It's a fairly unsophisticated movie. It's pretty cornball, but I'm not very sophisticated myself, and it's just real classic Mel Brooks doing what he does best, although I think he does other things better than this, than science fiction. But that's okay. We can't do everything. All right, back to net. This is WB5OZL.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's full of references, and it is easy to follow, but sometimes I need an easy laugh. That's not to be sneezed at. Okay, I have a lot of allergies, so I'm sneezing at everything. But as a concept, it is not to be sneezed at. Tom, KE5ICX, are you back with us? Okay, I hope it wasn't an actual fire. Now, the problem here is, unlike a traffic net where I might well be logging along with net control, I was not logging along with this net at all. I don't know who's next. I just know we're still in round one, dealing with the plot. So we had W5BLT and WB5OZL. If you think you were next, come back with your call signed phonetically, and I'll call on you. Okay, well, I know I was number one because sometimes someone has to break the ice. I may have to take a round of new check-ins in just a minute here. I really hope that wasn't a real fire. That would be just awful. Bad. So, filling in for Tom here, giving my overall thoughts of the plot, I'm really fascinated. I've been listening to everyone's comments. When I think of Mel Brooks, I think of Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, and then the producers, and then maybe Spaceballs. And I was just shocked to learn, looking on Wikipedia, that he was the producer for David Lynch's The Elephant Man, an absolutely gripping, heartwarming, tender, emotional film that isn't funny at all. And in fact, he had to invent a new production company because he didn't want people to see like a Mel Brooks film when watching this very slow, gripping drama about a deformed man who's exploited for profit by others, but eventually recovers his own identity and takes charge of his life. So, Mel Brooks is an amazing artist. I was deeply surprised to learn that he was connected with that film. And it doesn't make me view Spaceballs in a new light, but it does make me like Mel Brooks even more. Okay, this is NT5TM filling in as alternate net control for the Saturday Night TechNet. First, do we have Tom? Tom, are you back? Okay, well, that's bad. Let me first ask if there's anyone else who'd like to join us. Are there new check-ins for the net? Are there new check-ins for the Afterglow Movie Net? If so, please come now with your call signed phonetically, your name, and your location.
Hercules.
I guess the sheriff is drawing near. Kilo something, try again, please.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo on Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie.
Okay, KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. We haven't really finished with round one here. I'm about to have to take a big round of rechecks because I wasn't originally net control. Sean, do you want to give your thoughts about the plot?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I was just going to, I agree with what everybody's already said. I do think it is pretty pretty well done. Just for a Star Wars parody, it's probably, I think, on the Star Wars parodies I've seen, probably the best one. I, too, am kind of a Mel Brooks fan. I agree, probably not my number one, but I do enjoy this one. I will say, I think even, it had been a while since I watched it, so rewatching it last night. It definitely brought a smile to my face. Sometimes comedies, you know, if you enjoyed it the first time around, you know, follow-up watches sometimes aren't quite as funny because you already know what's coming, and it can make the jokes feel like they're lagging. And it did a little bit, but it was still fun to watch it again because there's a few things I actually had forgotten because it had been a while. I do think it's still pretty good as far as if you hadn't never seen it before, watch it. I think most of the jokes still work today. If you've seen, you know, obviously the movies that it was referencing, there might be one or two minor things I saw that, you know, the young generation, if you're 20 or under, you may not get it. Obviously, you know, like the C-3PO character dot metrics. Probably the younger generation have no idea what a dot metrics is. But I guess you could go down with any comedy probably as time goes on. But I do think this one held up well. Enjoyed it. I'll send it back tonight. KB9S, okay?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the combing the desert scene. And, yeah, they were taking Dark Helmet a little too literally. And finally, we ain't found sheep. Yeah, 99% of the jokes were actually not topical, which is pretty cool. Okay, first off, I need to request an alternate net control, somebody who can log along with me, because actually Aaron needs my help here. I didn't know I was alternate net control. Would anyone else like to copy along and keep track when I take new check-ins here?
NV5F.
Oh, Virginia, thank you. Get your pencil ready, or your pen, or your keyboard. I actually have to help Aaron with some medical stuff soon, so I can't actually stay for the whole night without an interruption. But let's go ahead and take a big round of rechecks, Could everyone please try to check back into the net so we can rebuild a list here? I don't want to go back to Broadcastify and play back the recording. That is a colossal pain. And we'd all just have to be silent and have dead air for 5 minutes while I did that. So, I was first, NT5TM. Everyone else, please come now with your call sign phonetically.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo.
This is Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar. Brian, just listening in. K9AHO.
Break.
Oh, wonderful. I hope there's no fire.
I don't think so. I think people just started going back in. It's I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, I have a list here, and then anybody that you want to add to it. But when I left you with WB5O's, let's see, who was next on the list? Bill DOT was the last person I talked to. Then OZL. I think it was DOT, then OZL, EBB, and now you've added SOK. Does that sound right?
Except I accidentally skipped David EBB because I didn't know he was there. But you're welcome to call on him, and I will be happy to back out. But I'm really glad I could help. May the Schwartz be with you. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it. Yeah, go back to whatever you were doing. We'll go in our normal order then. So let's see. I've got check off on Brenda, and so Sean spoke, and so the next one I got is W5EBB. That would be David. David, your thoughts on the plot? have lost David. I don't see him on the list. Maybe he'll come back in. Oh, well, I always like David's comments. Well, hopefully he'll pop back in and we'll see what he has to say. Does anyone else want to check in or have any comments on the first round, which is plot?
Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, just a quick comment. Really enjoying this tonight. I appreciate you choosing this movie and anyway, having a lot of fun. I appreciate it. I think it was Virginia who said that she was just in Astoria recently. I actually grew up near there in a little town called Gerhardt and went to school in Astoria. Great place to visit, and was kind of curious about her sightseeing, but that's a little off topic. K9AHO.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, it's a small world. It's amazing what happens. I remember one time I was down in Florida on vacation, and I was in a local resort bar there, and I sat next to a person. I talked to him, and it turned out after some discussion that he was my next door neighbor back in Detroit, where I was when I was growing up. And I didn't know him, but I knew his brother. So. Right next door. It's amazing how sometimes things come out. All right. I'll give my comments about the film. I'm sorry. I'm not a huge fan of this film. I do like Mel Brooks stuff, but not all of it. And this is not one of them. I'm a huge fan of Blazing Saddles. I think it's well done. I really enjoy Young Frankenstein, and I may be in the minority, but my favorite film of Mel Brooks is The Producers, the original, not the musical, although I like the musical. I love The Producers. I think that's my favorite Mel Brooks film. It was the second one that maybe first or second one that he did. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. The reason I'm not a huge fan of this is the reason why I am a huge fan of the other films. Those are genre films, as was mentioned. I think Virginia said that. Oh, good God. Here comes the fire department. How wonderful. Hold on a sec. Oh, never mind. They're going in the other direction. Okay, but when Mel Brooks shines with comedy is when he's familiar with the material. He probably grew up on westerns or new westerns, and so there's a lot of that. You had, as awkward as you may say it, there were a lot of Jewish people or Italians who played Indians, or just white guys who played Indians. So doing the Yiddish as a language, as an Indian language, as a native language, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's terrible to do that, but that's the whole point. The movie pushes boundaries like crazy. But that tells you how silly those things were in the 60s, the TV series that were in the 60s. Young Frankenstein actually goes so far as to use original plots from the Universal films, and things that you would think, that made that movie funny is just that everybody's familiar with that genre so well and loved it growing up, so that they could mimic and produce really good jokes and things. I just really enjoyed that. Unfortunately for me, I'm not a huge fan of Spaceballs because the jokes aren't that funny. Sorry, guys. They weren't funny to me. To me, I guess maybe I have a higher expectation because I am familiar with the science fiction genre, and I have higher expectations of what to expect. All you have to do is watch 5 minutes of, say, Star Trek's Lower Decks, and you've got inspiration for materials that go on forever and ever because they make fun of Star Trek, they make fun of science fiction. Futurama, the animated series, is another example of that. In fact, it took them a year, really, to figure out how to be funny with science fiction. And that's just to send up everything that's ever been done and make jokes about it. You know, one of the things that is somewhat obscure but always works is there's the courtroom scenes, the infamous courtroom scenes that are in all science fiction television series at one time or another. There's a court-martial or something. And in Futurama, the judge, it doesn't matter what prosecution or defense wants. Well, we want to take and abduct an alien from the planet 4 in the Alpha Ceti system, bring them here, brainwash them, and then put the memory recollection device on them to find out what happened between the hours of 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the judge says, okay, I'll allow it. Because that's what the judge always does. They always allow all sorts of crazy, stupid evidence. Now, maybe that's a little too obscure, but when you do that throughout the show 2, 3, 4 times, then you realize, okay, this is a trope that you would expect in science fiction. Or a meteor shower every 5 seconds. You're always going to have a meteor shower, and they always head for the meteor shower. So you could make some jokes about that. These shows were more generic, not maybe somewhat Star Wars related, but they weren't really all that clever in my estimation. I'm sorry, gang, this is not one of my favorites, so I tried to enjoy. I actually fell asleep from it last night because it's so past my bedtime. But it's not my favorite. But I love Mel Brooks stuff. I named 3 of my favorites. I'll watch those over and over and over again. Spaceball is just not one of them. I don't really dig the humor as much as I do in those other genre films. So that's what so we'll start. I think we can get Tony back, perhaps. Otherwise, we'll call on him at the end. NT5TM, Tony, you want to talk about characterization if you're there, from KE5ICX.
Well, I may have to be brief. There is a petulant bird on my hand. He woke back up again. By and large, I enjoyed the characters. Yogurt was fun. Pizza the Hut was stupid but made me smile. Yep, I'm just going to, oh shoot, ouch. I'm just going to keep it short and say I generally enjoyed the characters. I thought they were a good broad parody. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. We'll move on. So next up would be Jay, KT5BZW. Jay, what did you think about characterization for Spaceballs?
This is KG5BZW. The one thing about, I mean, I don't know, I suppose other films probably do this too, comedies in particular, but like some characters, their only characteristic is that's well defined, especially in this film. Are their names? It's like. I mean, it's not just, okay, maybe it's not only, they do add a little bit to it, but it's, major, what is it? No, wait a second, oh, it's so dumb. But, slurs abound that are, not particularly, grotesque or anything, but, let me see. Gosh, there's so many of those things that I kind of forget about the other characters. Yes, I love yogurts. The president of Spaceball Planet, well, I don't even remember what it was called other than that. I mean, I guess that was Brooks being Brooks, but obviously he also did yogurt and which he was good at, and I don't find any fault in how the actors, besides the one-offs, the Princess Vespa, that is her name, right? Yeah, Princess Vespa, Prince Valiant. Prince Valiant. There wasn't much to that character except for his name, and he yawned a lot and was just kind of. There's some. Gosh, I don't know. You want to cry because it's so stupid, but it's actually, if it makes you laugh, it makes you laugh, and it kind of makes me laugh. Bill Pulliam did a good job with his character, and the princess was good, and of course, helmets. That's probably the one role for Rick Moranis. That's his name, I think. I'd have to look at his name to be sure. Besides, Hey, I Shrunk the Kids or whatever. One thing I remember him for is this role, and it's pretty. Maybe Rick being Rick, but still, it's pretty funny. I don't know. I'm not sure what else to say. I'll hand it to the next person. KG5BZW.
Next up is, let me see here, this would be Virginia, NV5F. Virginia characterization, what do you think? From KV5, ICS.
Okay, before I start on characters, I have a couple comments. Comment number one is Astoria. I've been there a bunch of times because I love the movie Short Circuit, and that's where it was made. I've been going there since 1989, but I've been there several times in the last few years, and I seem to go every June. Usually, I didn't go last year. Thing number two is I take a little issue, Tom, with your position on your science fiction prowess and implying that somehow this movie is beneath you because you know so much about science fiction. I'll just leave it at that. So characters here were they were very much parodies of their parallel characters in Star Wars, but at the same time highlighted the comedic, style of each person. I love Dark Helmet. He's hilarious. Mel Brooks as President Scroob basically played himself. He seems to do that in almost every movie. He's got some character where he kind of plays himself. And I thought Yogurt was funny. And I do like how he always weaves in all the sort of Jewish stereotypes in a way that it's funny. And, of course, he can do that because he's Jewish. And I've always thought that I've always enjoyed that. I've always just thought it was really funny. And there were some throwaway characters, like a character called Colonel Sanders, and the only reason they named him Colonel Sanders was so that they could do the, what's the matter, Colonel Sanders, chicken? Mel Brooks, all these kind of over-the-top comedies are pretty well known for that. You'll have a character that's just got a weird name, and then later in this movie you figure out that the whole reason was because of a joke. I did like the main characters and how we talked about earlier. Lone Star is a kind of a fusion of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and then Princess Vespa is a pretty good take on the snooty, holier-than-thou princess thing of Princess Leia, and I love Dot Matrix because she's basically if Joan Rivers and C-3PO were, you know, and that's just kind of a bizarre idea. It's like let's take the idea of a droid like C-3PO, but use, you know, the comedy of Joan Rivers, and I'll still always laugh when she goes, "That was my Virgin alarm. It's designed to go off before you do." So, you know, and John Candy as Barf, who's sort of a take on Chewbacca. Pizza the Hut, me and my friend Scott had a ongoing running joke about Pizza the Hut and his line, one of his lines. So, you know, good, easy to follow characters. You got, you know, the princess's, you know, dad, who's basically a parody of a, you know, a Jewish father who runs a car dealership in the valley or whatever, or his uncle does or something, or his cousin does or whatever, but he's, you know, he's just that, you know, the Druish princess thing and yogurt and the little Jawa guys, and I just love all of it. It's, for me, it's, I love Star Wars, and I love science fiction, and yeah, the jokes in this weren't quite so esoteric science fiction. There was barely a reference to 2001, but the Planet of the Apes reference more than made up for it. So anyway, I thought the acting was great. The comedy was generally pretty good. I think, going back to a plot remark, I think for a comedy of this style, the plot was, you know, particularly more focused, but very simple, and maybe not like super sophisticated, but it was one of these kind of comedies. They just wanted to get, you know, young adults and teenagers into the movie theater, and they knew they could get all the people who'd seen Star Wars in the past 10 years, and I think they did a good job. The cast was really stacked, and it was you know, I think all the characters and actors were great in V5F.
Thank you, Virginia. I'll make some comments about that to the characters in a bit. So, next is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your thoughts on characterization, sir?
Okay, and I don't know if I'll have anything for round 3, but, and you know, not everybody loves the same movies. There's, you know, been times where I've watched a movie and I think everybody liked it, but, you know, I didn't, and so, and vice versa. I can't remember, there was a movie maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that I kind of really liked, and I was listening to the net, but I was very tired, so I didn't participate in that, but I liked the movie, and everybody didn't, so it's kind of funny. Yeah, now I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, sorry, it's late. But I thought it was pretty, you know, kind of funny, the different tastes that we all have in movies, and I think that's okay. Yeah, I think part of the characterization in this, it was kind of a spoof on Star Wars, and I don't know that it was, you know, maybe, yeah, they could have done some jokes differently and some things differently, but I don't know, you know, compared to a lot of the stuff that's out there, it was just fun to watch, and it may not be the favorite of Mel Brooks, but, you know, I still like the Pizza the Hut, and I thought Barf was funny with John Candy. I thought Joan Rivers kind of was annoying, which reminded me of C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back. He was kind of annoying. Wasn't annoying to me in A New Hope or Return of the Jedi, but he was certainly annoying in Empire Strikes Back, and so I was glad when they shut him off. So I think that movie kind of captured it in this to me. And I think maybe the reason I liked it is hanging out with people in college, and I'll make a reference to pizza, but you know, we ordered pizza and we watched it, and then we were laughing hysterically at Pizza the Hut, you know. And so just kind of those things. You know, probably after, you know, studying for school and really, just taking a break from finals. I can remember just sitting down and watching this movie, and maybe it's more the memories of people that I watched it with. But yeah, the characters, it was pretty funny, and like I said, one of my favorite scenes was with the Dark Helmet when they were, playing with the action figures. And I just thought that was kind of funny because, it seems like a lot of the science fiction movies that I remember wanted to have action figures and things like that. And of course, I had lots of the Star Wars action figures growing up as a kid. But so I just like the movie because of that. And I think there's a lot of movies that I remember watching with people, and it probably comes down to the camaraderie of sitting down and watching a movie. And it seems like now with social media, or the media stuff, everybody can watch something different on their phone or tablet, and we don't really always hang out in a big group and watch a movie anymore together. So another good plug for Field Day. Anyway, that's all I got. W5BLT.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bill. Let's see. Next is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, what did you think about characterization from KE5I6?
This is WB5OZL. What I really did like about the characters is they looked like they were having fun making this movie, which made it more fun. You really have to suspend your sophistication through a movie like this because it's just silly. But that's okay. There's lots of movies like that, and that's just fine. I thought everybody did a pretty good job. There's some pretty good heavy hitters there. And Tom, you said you didn't know who Bill Pullman was. He's been in a lot of stuff. Probably the favorite one of mine was a movie called While You Were Sleeping, where he and Sandra Bullock star. It wasn't a real famous movie, but it's cute, very cute. And he has a lot of appeal to me. He's very charismatic. Well, a lot of these characters were really, they're famous, and the actors are, and I think they did a pretty good job. It's just some of the writing was pretty lame, but that's okay. That happens a lot with comedies. Honestly, I don't watch sitcoms. I'm not a big fan of comedies because it's like, we heard that joke when I was 5. There's a lot of rehash on jokes, so it's why I'm not necessarily a big fan of them. All right, I'll stop there. This is WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And now I see David is back, W5EVB. David, we lost you for a little bit, and I had to run outside because of the fire alarm. I'm back, and you're back, and so, David, maybe gives you a chance to we're in the second round, but you're more than welcome to talk about what you thought about the plot and characterization. So go ahead and make it a twofer from KE5I6.
All righty. Hey, thanks, Tom. I appreciate you running me back to try both rounds. But I'll make it brief because I'm like you. I am not a fan of this movie. I didn't think it was all that funny, and I think Mel Brooks was just riding the coattails of an extremely popular movie, and just kind of called it in, I guess you might say, or that's what I would say. And I just watched bits and pieces of it again, I kind of feel the same way. It just didn't rotoscope my lightsaber. But I always look for some kind of theme or message or commentary, and there's really not very much here except maybe the criticism of all the commercialism. So you've got the the action figures, you've got the breakfast cereals and toilet paper. But that was something that Star Wars actually did not do. They never had any product placement ads. What they did is they created the products as a consequence of the movie itself. So there really wasn't any need to poke at Star Wars for all the products and toys that came after. So all that being said, is there a need for Spaceballs 2? Well, maybe, I guess, if it's going to be profitable. But as for characters, you cannot have a good Mel Brooks movie without Cloris Leachman. W5EDB.
Exactly right, yes. Those who are late will not get fruit cup. So, yeah, I'm putting her down on my list, too. Okay, very good. Let's see here. So, next is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I do, just kind of the comment about the plot kind of again, too. There's one thing I will say, even though I do agree this isn't Mel Brooks' strongest movie, I do like the fact that there was a real plot with this one. A lot of the parodies, even a lot of them we've even watched here on the net, don't have any kind of plot at all. They just jump from scene to scene to scene just telling a joke. And they're not particularly all that funny. We've had some ones that I thought were pretty bad because of that, even though the jokes, some of them might have been, kind of funny, but then the whole movie to me was just ruined because it was just like telling one-liner after one-liner. And I did appreciate in this movie that it did at least had a plot. I do agree, though it's not as strongest. I do agree that, it didn't really kind of make fun of that generation or genre in general. But all in all, just kind of one of the movies that make you smile. Definitely not a deep thinker. But yeah, I think the characters were fine. I agree. I think once again, yeah, I mean, this is a comedy. You're not going to have a lot of depth, but I do think the actors did play it well. And it was just one of those ones that just, like I said, once again, just kind of makes you smile. I do think Dot was the most annoying of all the characters, but other than that, I thought most of them were pretty good. So anyway, that's all I got for this round. Back to net, KB9SOK.
To join us, please come with your call now. Okay, I didn't hear any. There were a couple comments I wanted to make. First off, well, here's the thing. Yeah, I have a little higher expectation for science fiction films, a little bit in that way. No, I'm not a snob because I like bad science fiction too. One of my favorites is Space 1999. It's not very good, but it's entertaining. I love Lost in Space, the original version. In all its versions, from serious science fiction at the beginning to kiddie show to camp to trying to be Star Trek. It tried to be all different things. I just loved the production value. I liked the characters were always fun, even though the stories didn't always live up to what they could be. I probably, of any series, I watch that one more than any, just simply because I like it. I enjoy it. So it can be a number of factors that will fly, and not necessarily everything's going to be 2001 or even 2010. And even when you think about those two films, they're very different films on the same subject matter, but I like them both. And most people do, because even though they fall in completely different categories of movie production. They added different aims. One was for creating the best science fiction movie ever made, essentially. That was the goal. And the other was to make something that was engaging and entertaining for an audience. And that film succeeded. So they both succeeded on completely different levels for different reasons, and I like them both for those different reasons. I think character-wise, the cast was okay. Name came out. Dark Helmet, played by Rick Moranis, he's great. He's very, very good. He's very funny. I loved the whole thing with him doing the dolls, and then the guy catching him doing the dolls. I thought that was pretty funny. That's my favorite scene from the thing. And of course, everybody remembers Ludicrous Speed, which I think is a SpaceX thing now. I was reading that here a little bit ago, and everybody says, "Let's use Ludicrous Speed," not Ludicrous Speed. So there are a few quotable quotes from it. But I think what's missing from this, in my estimation, familiarity, are the people that I love in Mel Brooks films. We've got Harvey Korman, which should have been in this film, playing the number one for Dark Helmet. That would have been good. Cyril Mostel, Gene Wilder, Kenneth Mars, Madeline Kahn, Cloris Leachman. These are all people that I just love in any movie that they're in, and I think they add an energy and peculiarity to Mel Brooks films that Mel Brooks really does appreciate and lets them do. So when those people are absent from that film, Don DeLuise was in it as a boy from Pizza Hut. That's it. And that was okay, but you barely recognized him in the film. But these people weren't in there, and they're always in the Mel Brooks films, and they're always fun to watch. But we didn't get any of them, so I kind of missed that. That was the one thing that really, I think, was glaringly missing his cast. His ensemble cast that always works really well together. The second thing is that Mel Brooks always puts no musical number, and I think that probably put me in a grouchy mood when watching the film. If it had a memorable number, I would have watched it more objectively, I suppose. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But yeah, one last thing. Comedy falls into so many different categories, and sort of under the slapstick side of it, as an example, I have three examples, maybe four, but mainly three. I'm a huge fan of Law and Hardy. Everybody knows me. I love Law and Hardy. I can watch Law and Hardy forever. The silence, the talking, I don't care. I'll sit and watch every single Law and Hardy ever made because they're all really funny. Abbott and Costello, they always intersect with the Universal Pictures and monsters and all of that, so they could be entertaining. Their routines were more standard issue. You knew what to expect, but they were moderately entertaining, sort of middle of the road. You've seen one, you've seen them all. And then the Three Stooges, the ultimate in slapstick. People love them. I'm okay with them, but again, that one is to the nth degree. They do all those two-reelers, and they were all basically the same thing, every single one of them. And that's okay. I don't mind that. But I like the inventive slapstick, the routines, the one-liners that Law and Hardy had, like they do the Sons of the Desert, and Tony says, you know what the exhausted ruler said, don't you? And then he say something really profound, and he says, that's really good. Can you repeat it? And then the next thing he says, it's complete mush, you know. Or when he'd go up the stairs, and you didn't see him going up the stairs, you just hear him starting up the stairs. He'd trip once, and you'd see him trip on that first step, and then he'd go up the stairs, and you hear the sound, and he'd keep tripping up the stairs forever, you know, and you just realize this is a complete klutz. Or the music box, which is a wonderful routine where they take this piano up these big stairway in Hollywood, and they get to the top after the thing flows down the stairs like 6 or 8 times. They get all the way up to the top. They ring the doorbell, and the gal says, oh, it's my piano. And they say, yes, it is. He says, well, why didn't you bring it up the back way? There's a back way here. You just drive up to the back door. And he says, now you tell us. And they start taking the piano back downstairs to take it up the back way. That kind of thing is what's funny to me. That's kind of my humor. So this one didn't have any of the things that are familiar, even with the Mel Brooks. He is slapstick. He does some crazy things, but it wasn't as much fun. At least in my eyes. So there you have it. That's my feeling. Okay, let's see. We've got 8 minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and call out. Anyone have any comments, I'll just take you in the order that you throw your call signs out. So if you got final comments, bring your call sign now, and I'll take you in order.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, well, we've got one. That's Tony, NT5TM. Tony, go ahead.
I'm really glad the fire wasn't... Ooh, that was weird. Okay, I'm really glad the fire wasn't real. I'm really sad our bird got back up. The theme I would go with for music and effects in this movie was just enough. The special effects were not genuinely good, but they were just enough to be a credible parody. I really liked seeing the Spaceballs climbing out of the head of the Statue of Liberty. I really liked the opening bit of the endless space battleship going by, ending and we break for nobody. So, you know, the music wasn't wonderful. It was just good enough. It was just enough to evoke a good parody of the source material. So I want to, I guess, make my round 3 comment. It was good enough. It made me laugh. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Anyone else have something they want to bring to the net? Please, somebody call. Okay, well, we'll call it a night. Next week is Field Day, I believe. So I'm making the trek back to Dallas. So I'll be in the trailer with the rest of the gang for Skynet. You are welcome to come on by, especially Skynet contributors. Come on to the trailer. It's been a tradition to do that, and we just kind of huddle together in there and yap and kibitz and all of that. So if you're interested, and come on by. We've had that trailer filled up with people hearing Skynet. So you're welcome to do that. And then we have at 10:30, Bill is going to set up the big screen and a projector that we'll be able to use to watch the movie Colossus, the Corbin Project, which is one of my favorite films from 1970 with Eric Braeden. So come on by. If you've never seen it, it's well worth. It's a great film. It was underappreciated when it came out. They keep wanting to make a remake of this film, and now would be the perfect time to do it, especially with AI. But it's a wonderful film. It's very fast-moving and very, very interesting. Based on a D.F. Jones story. So come on by for that. We'll have snacks and things to be leftovers from dinner from that evening for sure. So if you're at another field day site and you want to drop on by all means do so. You are more than welcome. And those of you who are there, stay and watch the film. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. And for those of you who appreciate it, I know there's more than one of you, it should be a lot of fun. So next week, there'll be no Afterglow movie net. We're just going to go and watch the film at 10:30. It's about a 90-minute film, so it should be done by midnight. And then we will discuss the movie the following Saturday evening. So you get a night off to just enjoy the film. So that's it for me. I want to say 7-3 to everybody. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody for Field Day and getting back to Dallas. This will be my first trip back to Dallas since September. So I'm really looking forward to it. See you all next week. This is KE5ITX, and now clear.